are listening to the Practicing People's Podcast. I'm CJ Hammond.
And I'm Jordan White. Together, we'll be taking a journey into the practices that help us align with our mind, body, and soul.
So take a deep breath, release, and remain curious as we explore new ways to enhance our lives. Welcome, everyone, to the very first episode of the Practicing People's Podcast. We are so excited to bring this to you because we feel like this journey that we're embarking on, we're going to be learning so much, and we hope that everyone as a listener enjoys and learns just as much as we are going to learn. My name is CJ Hammond, and one of my very best friends in the whole entire world who has changed my life in so many ways, Jordan White, is with me as well, and we're going to be embarking on this journey together. With that being said, Jordan, please introduce yourself, my friend.
Yeah, it's kind of like you said, man. It's so exciting to be actually sitting down and doing this with you, man. Like we've talked about, having a podcast for a while now, and the fact that we're here, we're doing it. It's exciting, man. So no one else I'd rather be doing it with, and just so grateful that we're taking some action on our thoughts, man. So a little bit about, I guess, just for the listeners, how this idea evolved. CJ and I have been friends for 25 years now. I think we're
close to 25, yeah.
And have obviously seen each other grow throughout that process, go from kids to men, and who are pursuing careers, all that. And a lot of what we connect on today is just this whole idea of self-awareness. And that's really the big idea behind this podcast is, we want to invite people to look into the mirror, with curiosity. So into the mirror of themselves and, different situations that they may be in at work, in relationships, etc. Just looking at things with curiosity and recognizing that there's practices out there and that there's people that have overcome a lot of challenges in their life through deliberate practices. For us, it's meditation. That's one of them that we pursue. And we'll be getting into a lot of those other practices that we pursue and that our guests have found that work for them as well. So not sure what you would add to that, CJ, but that's a little breakdown of where we're going with this.
Yeah, and I think that, to actually define, I thought about this before coming into this today. It was defining what practicing is, as we are the Practicing People's Podcast. And I looked up the definition, as it is an adjective, but actively pursuing or engaged in a particular profession, occupation, or way of life. And for me, in the Practicing People's Podcast, the way this all came about was Jordan introducing me to the practice of meditation. And meditation brought me and has brought me and continues to bring me so much awareness, as Jordan alluded to really the beauty of life. Understanding that I don't need to be so reactionary to so many of life's ways, because the more I loosen my control of life, the more I'm able to enjoy it, because so many things happen in our day with our spouses, with coworkers, with teammates, with whoever it may be. And the more awareness you can have and the more practices I think as humans we're able to pick up that allow us to enhance our lives, no matter the age, it's a beautiful thing. Here I am at 35. Are you 35 now too?
Yeah.
So we're some old bucks, but I got the gray hairs coming in, but I think that so many people think that they can't pick up practices in their life as they get older. And here we are as two 35-year-olds, and me picking up meditation at 33, finally deciding to pick it up after many suggestions by Jordan, and never a forceful way. I finally entered that journey with Jordan. And I guess if you could expand a little bit about how that happened and how you came into meditation, because you changed my life when you brought the practice of meditation to me, just to present it as an option of something that might enhance my life in the ways I'm communicating and moving throughout my own world.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to say more about it. And to your point, man, it's been a powerful contributor to our connection, you know, as friends. And yeah, just seeing ourselves like through that process of meditation and what that's done for us growth wise has been powerful. But yeah, I've been an advocate for a while of picking up a book and then like in reading. If you're looking to learn something, I feel like it's incredible that people can find a way to, in 200 pages or less, you know, put their life's work into words, right? So for me, reading is just it's such a gift that is out there, and essentially where I discovered meditation. It was reading a book by Michael Singer called The Untethered Soul, where he talks a lot about his meditation journey and his practice through it, and eventually, right, like he's one of the top spiritual teachers out there, you know, that the world has ever known. So the way he talked about it in his book was really just interesting to me at first. Like I was curious about it. It's like, whoa, like that, like wait, like I can actually say something, like I can stand up to that little voice in my head. Like I don't have to always just pay attention to it or let it guide me. I can take back control of it. So that was really powerful to get exposed to meditation in that way. And it was also at a time in my life where I was just, you know, I wasn't really happy with where I was in a relationship, where I was at work, you know, and different other you know, personal relationships and connections throughout my life. I was struggling with, and even internally, like my relationship with myself. So meditation was what invited me to just pause for a second and inquire, right, and just sit for a second with my own thoughts and get curious about why I'm thinking that way, or you know, is this really the outcome that it has to be, or is there another way? So it, you know, it elevated my curiosity, which is a huge theme and a big pillar of, you know, what this podcast will be about as well. Um, but yeah, reading that book is really what helped me get exposed to meditating, and so grateful that, you know, we found a connection through that as well.
Yeah, and I guess expanding on that, what you just said, it's that, you know, for me, I have never had a friendship like this where the word we touched on before in prior conversations was intimacy. And the more that I've gotten in touch with myself because of meditation, my friendships have grown so much more intimate, meaning deeper, nothing having to do with the romantic side of it. It is it's the words that we use. It's the care that we have for each other. It's the concern, and we are able to have each other's blind spots at all points. I can't tell you how many times in my life I've come to Jordan with an issue or a problem, and I'm saying, oh, it's this or it's that, it's this or it's that, everything external. And Jordan kept presenting me, but what is it that you're presenting, or what is it that you're bringing to the table? And I kept getting frustrated almost because I'm like, but you don't understand, Jay. It's not me that's the problem. It's the outside world. As you alluded to earlier, it's the mirror. It's the mirror. The world is just showing you a reflection of what's inside. And my hope is that with this podcast, as people pick up different types of practices of all different varieties. We have plenty of different guests, from anybody to entertainers to business owners to dietitians, any practices that we believe can enhance the life. We're trying to do that at any all moments. And I believe that you allowed me to remain curious and far less rigid in my ways, that I tend to believe something is black or white when many times things are in the areas of grays. Well, it could be, if you see it like that, if you believe it to be that way,
Mhm.
it's just the way you're thinking. Or if you think this way, you could believe this, and causing me to examine my thoughts. And that was a beautiful thing. And I guess circling back with the Practicing People's podcast, that's how this all came about. We sat there having wonderful conversation after wonderful conversation when we would meet and meditate in the morning at 6 a.m. I would wake up every morning at 6 a.m. and Jordan invited me into the adventure of doing these meditations with him. And at first it felt so foreign. I was like, what are we doing sitting in space? But even after the first one, I was like, that was beautiful. And meditation is an experience. It's more experiential than anything I can say. And it seems so mundane. Well, sitting with yourself, to be aware of every thought that comes in and out of your brain while not trying to grasp any one of them for more than the moment that it is, because life is but moments, has allowed me to enjoy every moment thereafter so much more as just that, let it go and build more beauty or take any lesson that life served me. And Jordan, thankful for him, started this practice with me and got me on this road. And as we began to have these elevated conversations that continued to expand about thoughts of life, thoughts about love, family, relationships, we sat here and Jordan expressed to me, because as we'll dive into what your career is now, and how you got about that, that it seemed that we wanted to bring more of this illuminated light that we had to others. And so we hope that the Practicing People's podcast allows people to listen to our story, other people's stories, and gain practices that will enhance their lives. So I guess really circling back to it, Jordan, can you explain a little bit where you started on your journey and what it is that is your career, a little bit about who you are, your experience as a human, really, because you are not your professions. You are more a human than anything else. But can you just tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I appreciate the way you, I guess, frame the question even, because I've always struggled answering that. Like, what do you do? Or who, like, like, what is it that you're into? It's like, well, you know, I feel like CJ and I both wake up every day just asking what we get to learn, and like what, at least conscious, I'll speak for myself and CJ. Yeah, feel free to chime in. But yeah, I'm just waking up with that mindset has relieved so much stress in my life. I think so many of us try and get things figured out. Right? Like this is what it is, and okay, if I keep it this way, or if I just show up this way, then it's gonna provide X outcome. And like the more I got into meditation, the more I got into like having a curious mind and heart, the more I realized the complete opposite was true. So at this point, I'm a self leadership coach. So I have a certification in axiogenics, which uh, uh, I guess a surface level explanation of that is, we've with this science, we've married axiology. So that's essentially the science of creating value, and not value as in a monetary, not your bank account, or your stocks and bonds like numbers or anything like that. Like value as in, what your heart knows. When you look at your girl CJ, for example, and just like feel like that love between you two, or you put some creative music out there in the world, and you did it with all of your heart and soul, right? And like, so creating more moments like that consciously. So we have axiology paired with modern day neuroscience, more specifically neuroplasticity. And the idea behind neuroplasticity is that the brain can change over time if we put conscious effort into it. And it's a huge part of meditation as well, right? Like it's elevating your consciousness. And by doing that more consistently, um, you get to actually create your future, right? You get to create the outcomes in your life versus feeling like life is coming at you. And that's really what I help people do
Let me
as a
ask you
self
this:
leadership coach.
can may I
Yeah, of
ask and interject real quick? Forgive me. It's that
course.
as the audience member, were you always doing this? Were you always a life coach, or was there a path before this? Because I think that so many people feel like
Mm.
once you're here, I'm already this old. There's nowhere else for me to go, so I might as well just follow this route because that's my habits and that's my moves and that's my ways. What were you doing before becoming the life coach?
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for that. So prior to coaching, I was in what I'd call the financial space. So I worked for a credit union for almost 10 years and was in a leadership position there. And during that time, I ended up actually taking advantage of um, one of the benefits of being at this organization, which was tuition reimbursement, and ended up getting a master's in communication and leadership. And during that process is when I discovered professional coaching, right? And I learned that, a lot of people are, perceived as highly successful as leaders, just as people in general, usually have a mentor, usually have a coach, usually have someone that they can, bounce ideas off of, talk things through. So that piqued my interest. I learned that a lot of successful people had coaches, so I wanted to learn more. And the more I did learn about it, I I ended up actually finding another podcast called The Look and Sound of Leadership, and it's actually a an executive coach who basically narrates his conversation with his clients. And the more I listened to that, the more I was feeling really connected to those conversations in the sense that they sounded a lot and felt a lot like the conversations I'm having with my team members at the time. Because I would have monthly one-on-ones with people, and it was really just being present with them, asking questions and holding up the mirror, right? So here's what I'm hearing, and giving them the opportunity to find more clarity in their own thoughts and their own, thought processes, etc.
As you've done with
Um,
me many times.
hey man, well we do that for each other, right? And that's the beauty of it. Um, so yeah, that's essentially where my interest in coaching was sparked. And I reached out to the podcast host and wrote him an email, asked him if he'd be open me interviewing him and just learning more about coaching. And he got back to me, and we talked for like an hour and a half, something like that. And I
Wow.
learned about, yeah, just the ICF, the International Coaching Federation, which I'm certified through as well. And just like the whole path of becoming a coach. And here we are, a few years later, pursuing the coaching world in a professional sense. That's something I take a lot of pride in. Right, it's like actually being certified as a coach, and I think there's a lot of misconceptions about what coaching is, depending on who you ask. Right, you ask 10 different people who call themselves coaches, you'll get 10 different answers.
Hmm.
Um,
And that's
but yeah,
beautiful.
as far as yes, I agree. And one of the main misconceptions, just for the audience to know, if someone calls themselves a coach, a lot of people go to, oh, you're gonna like kind of tell me what to do, how to do it, when to do it. It's like, no, 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 no. Like as a professional, like trained coach, it's all about helping you find those answers for yourself, right? And like just being that supportive partner, that conversation partner, someone who's really trained in listening, asking questions, and being present, and that has your interests at heart, right? So it's a place where judgment doesn't exist, and it's all about you becoming the best version of yourself as possible. So I love coaching so much, man. It's such a special thing to have come across, and I can confidently say it's a calling. Like I there's nothing else I'd rather do.
I can see it in your face when you say it, man, the way you shine. And I think that that's what's beautiful is having my friend on this journey who has found something that you can see when you see the shell, it's something, but when you see the inside and the soul smiling, it's a
Mm.
completely different feeling. And I think that's what it's so beautiful as I think about this. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of us. I love this journey and I love watching you grow because your growth is in turn my growth as you present me new things. And I hope that people know that out there that every practice you continue to pick up, you're enhancing your life in so many ways and you can enhance other people's lives. And we are hoping that this is what this will do. I don't hope. I'm very confident in that because I'm saying that with my soul. I'm very confident that these practices that we will bring to light for other people will start to enhance others' lives as well. Like, because like I said, for me, when you took that path, I remember you telling me, "Yeah, I'm gonna go get my master's." I'm like, "Man, this is far gone, bro. We don't need to be doing school anymore. Like, we're good. We're good." And it motivated me at first. And motivation is a quick spark, but then you truly inspired me, as your friend and as someone that just saw you as a human, to know that the gift of life was to always be co-collaborating with life. And you have shown me that it is so possible to not just feel like you're either just moving with life or a victim of life, or even when it goes well, but you are co-collaborating at every point in your life. And presenting the mirror to me, as you have so many times, has allowed me to do that once again through the practice of meditation. But there are so many practices that allow us to do that and gain greater insight to who we truly are, not our name, not our profession, not anything that is other than what our soul most, kindly knows as who we are. And I thank you for that.
Man. Well, I'm humbled, CJ, and yeah, as you kind of talk about, what it is you're up to, I just know how much, uh, yeah, just appreciation I have for the things you look to pursue too, and how much of an inspiration you were to up and leave your family, right? Like the life you knew, to go create a whole new one for yourself, man. So for you to go on your journey is also an inspiration, and yeah, I'm just grateful that we've stayed connected throughout that and seen each other grow in amazing ways throughout that process, man. So yeah, but yeah, if you don't mind sharing a little more about what it is you're up to, and what you're about these days.
Yeah, so obviously CJ Hammond. I'm from originally from Denver, Colorado. I grew up with a wonderful family, a very loving household where that was sort of the resonance at all times. Even in midst of turmoil, there was an understanding that this is from love, or to gain a greater understanding of love. And I have an amazing sister, and a beautiful, amazing girlfriend who supports me. And that's really the place that I came from in my life at all points. I have had a tremendous amount of support from people in very loving ways. And about 10 years ago now, actually, I decided to move to LA to pursue a career in entertainment, sort of willy nilly, in the sense that I just didn't, I wasn't satisfied with my 9 to 5. I had been in staffing and sales, and I got lucky and signed with a modeling agency in Denver. And from there, I said, I want more of this because I don't want to be working behind a desk. And I decided to move out to LA, got into modeling. Modeling led to commercials. Commercials led to acting. And thanks to acting, it led to music. And so I do all four of those now, while adding the skill set of now hosting this podcast with you. And I guess the tricky part of asking who I am, as the more I come to understand myself, that's the part that we find most difficult, is who are we? We are ever evolving beings, but I've come to the understanding that most simplistically and sort of esoterically, but I hope everybody understands this, is that I am love, and I practice love. Meaning practice, meaning it's always in motion. So there are days where I get frustrated. There are days where I get upset. There are days where I lash out, but I'm practicing love at all positions. And you've illuminated, love in everything that I do. Eating my food with love, sharing moments with my girlfriend with love, picking up the phone to talk to my family with love, because I was presented with something very early on in our talks, and through reading different books and practicing that life is two options for me, and it sort of speaks to who I am. That life is either love or it's fear. There are two options with everything that you have, and I have chosen to pursue the most loving ways that I have given to me at any given moment in my life. So I am love, and I hope to continue to practice that with you and illuminate that through our guests and find those. But I am someone who is deeply engaged in wanting to tap into more of this brain that goes so unexamined. My thoughts go so unexamined, and prior to even meditating, they had gone very, and I think it had gone. I think the reason why it came at the right moment is because I had been out in LA, I think for 8 years at that time, with very little self introspection that wasn't involved with the shell. Like I'll do this, but it's for this. I'll do this for this. There was nothing coming back to my soul. It was all output, and I wasn't really coming from a place of the most understanding of myself. And I came to you with a lot of frustrations and a lot of issues, and I finally took the path of meditating to examine my thoughts more closely, examine the relationships with my friends and the types of relationships I wanted to have. And from that, I gained a greater sense of who I am. So to your question is, I am love. I have things that I do occupationally that I enjoy very much, and I will continue to pursue those. But I am a loving person that wants to continue to illuminate the goodness of this world in times where it seems like we might be focusing on other aspects that aren't so savory. And
Yeah.
I wanted to be a person that created a space with you where we could talk about the savory pieces of life that were really to be expanded upon, because I don't think that that's a judgmental statement, but my presumption was that I'm not sure we're always examining how wonderful and what a gift this life is. And just like meditation, with every breath, what a gift this is. And so, in a short nutshell, like long, like a little bit, but I am a loving person who is very centered in always growing. That is who I am these days. Aside from name, family, occupation, that's who CJ is.
Yeah. Beautiful, man. Well, and it's reminding me, I mean, for the audience, like CJ and I actually sat down and like wrote out like what we want this, organization to be, this podcast to be. And that was the core pillar was love, right? So we jotted down, listen with love, right? Think with love, communicate with love, act with love, decide with love, choose with love, learn with love. So really just creating an overall atmosphere of love, right? And I think something you were maybe getting to a little bit earlier is that's a constant choice we have every single day. It's either love or fear, right? And I know which one feels better, and I know which one I'd rather be pursuing and spreading more of. So that's again just another core piece of what we're looking to spread as we share these messages with people throughout this podcast experience.
I'm really excited because I do have a question for you that was perhaps unknown prior to this, in this very first episode, because I am curious. Are there any practices that you are currently picking up, or things that you would, as you know, at this moment in your life, practices that you're looking to expand upon during this, well, let's call it a chapter of our life. And my belief is that this will be a very beautiful chapter of our life that could go for a very long time. But what are some practices that you're looking to acquire at this moment in your life?
Yeah, love it. Well, obviously, meditation is a staple at this point, and reading is another staple of mine. Something I'm getting more into is consistently journaling. Like I've done it in waves and like kind of gone up and down, but I've found that by journaling every single morning, I'm able to crystallize thoughts, because you're activating more of your brain by actually physically writing things down, and you're crystallizing your thoughts, and you're finding, or at least for me, like I, I surprise myself at times with what I write down. Like, whoa, I didn't really realize I thought about it that way until I actually took the time to like process it. So that's something I'm really leaning into at this point. And of course, like the Valuegenic self-leadership program I take people through as well. I mean, being a man of value, being a valuegenic person is an intentional and conscious practice. So that's something that's an everyday thing for me as well. That, of course, like I'm human. I have my good days and not so good days, but by consciously being a person of value, that's another huge practice that I live consistently.
That's beautiful,
So yeah,
man.
those are a few of what I'm working on at this point. How about you?
For me, it's something I've actually gained from you. So, as an audience member, you'll come to find perhaps that Jordan is one of the most calm presences I've ever been around. One of the most kind souls, and one of the things that we've decided, or Jordan's made it illuminated in my life, is that when I express, I tend to be very vocal, and Jordan is a little bit more internal in the ways that he processes. But one thing that I want to practice, or that I am practicing, is becoming a better listener. It is a very simple thing to say and a far greater intricate practice to be in. And I think that it's allowing me to grow greater abilities in my life. I pick up so much more. I think that a lot of times I'm ready to say the next thing before the person's even done, because I do have a brain that moves very fast and is able to move with conversations. But if I'm honest, I don't know how much how much is really internalized and actually brought to my soul. And I'd like to be a better practicer of listening to really find things that resonate with my soul. And I have done that because you've taught me to have so many more touch points in my day. I'll walk into the gym. I ask the person at the front desk, because they're not the front desk person. They're a human with a story and a soul, and
Yep.
they have things to say. And so I ask them questions inquisitively, remaining curious. I'm practicing curiosity so much more while listening at the same time. Two practices in one that have begun to fundamentally changed my life, because once again, you've said life is a mirror, and the kindness and the love that I put out, I receive. And it's so wild to see how many people will willingly share their story, because I think we all are looking for connection. That's what this podcast is. We want to invite people to
Yep.
look for connections and threads of life that everyone's going through. Me and you have gone through so many similarities that we felt like we were solo on. And my practices have come to make me realize the threads of life. We are interconnected in so many ways. And by listening to other people's stories, I gain that perception so much more readily at all points. And then I'll go back to my girlfriend and tell her what I learned in the day, and then I'll ask her about her day, and I become a better listener. And by becoming a better listener to her, our relationship is enhanced. We are able to conquer whatever obstacles or issues we come across with my family. So many people don't realize their parents are not just providers. They are humans too with a story. I want to know more about what my parents' life is like, was like, because these are moments in life. You will not always have these to at your disposal. And by incorporating listening and being inquisitive and curious, those practices that I'm currently working on, my life has gone like whew. And every day feels like
Yeah.
Christmas, because you're unwrapping a gift. Life is like we talk about this gift of life. Every day I'm unwrapping this gift that is unknown to me. Sometimes whatever it looks like that is a loss is a fundamental rocket ship of gain to something a higher level. And you have shown me that, and these practices have shown me that incorporating these things to enhance my life has been fundamentally amazing. Like, meditation will never leave me. I have been consistent in my practices now. I haven't missed a day since we started, and I'm proud for myself. And I think that shows what discipline looks like. And we hope that everybody begins to form a discipline with their practices, and some may stick, some won't. Not all practices that I have tried have stuck with me. But I think that as we continue this podcast, we're going to find so many practices that can actually enhance us, that we do want to show discipline to and continue. And I'm excited, man, because these practices currently are woo. And I hope people can see and hear the excitement that we both have, and when we're talking about what this next level looks like, because it is beautiful. It looks far less dreary. That doesn't mean those days don't come, but I quickly examine what the other side looks like, the side of love, not the side of fear. You've taught me to examine my
Mm.
thoughts. My thoughts become my beliefs, and my beliefs are everything that is attached to sort of the identity. If I can release those, I can be so much more than just any one thing. And that's what these practices have really enhanced in my life and showed me.
Powerful, man. Powerful. But as you were saying that, it kind of sparked the thought of meditation being like a gateway. Like, I don't know, we kind of joke around like, I don't know, like smoking weed is the gateway drug, right? Like meditation is the gateway to better listening, to better communication, to better knowing yourself, right? So like pausing and just taking that time to uh that those moments, whenever it is in your day. I mean, for us, it's in the morning, right? Like get up, meditate, and that way you're present, and it sets the foundation of presence. So to your point, like being a present listener, well, like there isn't something out there that's potentially as powerful as that for someone with the timings right, and even by the questions you're asking that person is a reflection of you listening, right? So there's just, it goes deeper, of course, right? Like we're just kind of scratching the surface. And that's what I'm so excited about in these conversations is to like peel those layers back and talk about the power of these practices. So if you don't mind talking about it, CJ, like I know we scratched the surface a little bit, but just what people can expect, in this podcast and, a little bit about, um, our guests and what those conversations will look like and what we hope people walk away with.
Well, yes, I will expand upon what you said while touching on that, because really what I hope people pick up from this podcast is a greater self-awareness. Um, and
Hmm.
you and I have spoken about this before, but there was a realization I came to that meditation and the practice of that presented more self-awareness. And in gaining my self-awareness, I lost a sense of self in a positive way. It became far less about me and more about others. And with our guests, we are planning to have artists, entrepreneurs, business owners, community activists, community leaders, people that will really spark and be the world changers for positive. That is the people that we resonate with most uh, often. And I'm hoping that the audience will tap into understand and find a greater understanding of themselves. I far less care if you find out that I have a realization in this podcast versus I hope that whatever moment in these podcasts comes to you, you have a revelation about yourself. And in that revelation, it will make you far more aware of how you interact in the world and lose a sense of yourself that only cares about how it affects you and it affects others and the world as a whole. Because one of our biggest things that we've talked about too is that, albeit these practices might seem very small, we know this, and it's one of my favorite things to say in the world. The micro affects the macro. One raindrop is not going to fill the lake, but time after time, before you know it, and Colorado's been wet, and I know that, and I know that California has, both where we live, and it's been wetter than ever. And all those little tiny raindrops that seem like nothing have formed this beautiful green everywhere. There's green everywhere. And all those little drops in those practices, I couldn't find a more perfect analogy to what this podcast is just a little bit of micro influences the macro, and your life will sort of your garden will start to grow a little bit with each listen, with each guest, with each season. We are so excited to go on this adventure with you guys, and we hope that really your sense of awareness is something that is heightened through this entire experience, because that is the one bedrock that I can say out of all this, of all the overarching theme. My self-awareness has elevated in a way that all I can say is that there's going to be more growth. I don't know where it ends or where it begins. It's just there's going to be more. And it will be beautiful through every challenge, every wind, every twist, every turn. So I hope I
Love it.
answered the question, but that you get me excited with this, and then I start going. Y'all see.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I think we were joking about this the other day about, calling ourselves experts in something. And I don't know, I personally struggle with it a little bit, but I guess the spin on it is that we've become experts in growth, right? Like experts in learning, experts in curiosity. So, as the audience goes along on this journey with us, like please know we're learning and growing too. Like we don't
Yes.
have the answers, but we're out to seek them, right? And
Yes.
we have we bring a very curious and open-minded and open-hearted approach to every day, let alone the people we'll be having on the podcast. And even if it's just a solo show or just you and me, I mean that's where we're at with everything. So just continuing to grow and like really being proud of that, you know.
So proud. And I think that, please know this as the listener. Jordan said something that was our biggest fear in doing this. And I hope anybody listening that has any sort of inkling to do anything in life, whether it be start their own podcast or anything, we were like saying, I don't know, like, well, what right do we have to say anything? Well, the right was given when I was born, and I was given this mind and this breath in my lungs to have my own thoughts and feelings that I get to share deeply with my friend. We just decided to try to bring an audience to it. But there is no such thing as failure in my life anymore. There was at a point in my life, but there is no failure. So we enjoy everyone to learn, to take chances, to what everybody maybe right now might perceive as fail at points, but really just learn. Every piece of life is a learning lesson for us, and that is what this podcast will be, one big learning lesson for all of us.
Love it, man. Well, I'm grateful, CJ, for us pursuing this, and grateful for the listeners for tuning in, and cannot wait, right, to continue down the journey, and just so excited to see what's to come.
Amen. And to any listener out there, we encourage you to become engaged with us now. Please follow us on our website, all of our social medias, which we will have the links to at the bottom of our pages. But please tap into what we are bringing, because we feel that this meal will be one that is never ending, and it will always be fruitful for all. So please subscribe, share with your friends, anybody that is on the journey of self-growth, self-awareness, anything that has to do with self that is for the greatness of others. Please, we invite you to join us. And episode 2, we are excited because we'll have a very special guest, which we'll get to. But we are really excited for everything that's here to come. And thank you, Jordan, for your time, your love, your attention, your intention with every piece of this conversation. And behind the scenes, just so everyone is aware, Andrew Pike, who is helping us with production of the show, we are so grateful to him, as he has given us the confidence to take our ideas and our thoughts to another level that will allow to reach others, which we have always wanted to do. So I am forever grateful for that as well.
Amen.
Thank you for joining us today on the Practicing Peoples podcast. We hope you found our conversation inspiring and thought-provoking. We appreciate your support and passion for personal growth and self-improvement.
To help build the Practicing Peoples community, please follow us on Instagram at Practicing Peoples Podcast for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and engaging discussions. Liking and sharing our posts will spread the word about the podcast to others who can benefit from these conversations. You can also reach out to us at our website, www.practicingpeoples.com, for more materials and ways to tap into the community.
Leaving a rating and review on your preferred podcast platform is a valuable way to support us and help potential listeners discover our show.
Remember, personal growth is a journey we embark on together. Let's build a community where we uplift and inspire one another to achieve our true potential.
Thank you for being part of the Practicing Peoples podcast family. And until next time, keep practicing and keep growing.